Good afternoon, Norcal Karters. It is Wednesday, September 15th. And for all of the events I'm going to talk about, you can go to norcalkarters.com and click on our calendar. Everything is listed there, but we're doing the verbal version for those that are driving down the road or want to listen into the garage. Just something we tried a couple of years ago, and we're going to keep doing it. So thank you for tuning into the podcast. If you can hear me and I'm live, you can actually chat with me. Go to norcalkarters.com, click on the podcast link, or you could listen through the Spreaker app and chat live. And yeah, and like I said a couple of weeks ago, I'm going to move the times around, the days around, to kind of see where we pick up the most interaction as far as live. So if you're going to download it, it doesn't matter. But looking at the different time slots for live broadcasting. And if you have a preference on a day or a time and you're listening to this and it's not live, just write a comment below. Just write something and say, hey, I would prefer, Tuesdays at 9 p.m. or I would prefer Thursday at 6 a.m., whatever it might be. And majority will win. Whoever has the most votes for the day and time, that will be our new day and time for the podcast. So thanks again for listening. Again, September 15th. And there's a lot going on. So this past weekend, the Sonoma racetrack was very busy. The Rock Sonoma event was going on, and it was a combined event with the California Rock Championship. And we were live streaming. And when I say we, I was lucky enough to be able to announce that event. And we have a wonderful video crew that comes in. And the race was live streamed on YouTube. So this was the second one that we've done. And it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of learning going on. One, I'm not an announcer, so that's the biggest issue. So anytime the video team has the biggest issue of a bad announcer, that's easy. That's an easy fix. So I just got to work on my announcing. But no, it's been a lot of fun. It's been a fun challenge this year to do the announcing at the track. And again, we were live on YouTube. So if you want to check those events out, you go to YouTube, search Rock Sonoma. That's not on the Norcal Karters page. It's on the Rock Sonoma page. And if you subscribe to their channel, then you'll be notified when they go live or they post content to their YouTube channel. So again, that was a lot of fun, and we were out there for the race number 7 and the combined California Rock Championship. It was Andy Seisman's season finale for that series. It was a pretty good turnout, and it wasn't a surprise because some of the drivers were collecting their trophies, and others were getting ready for this week, where, as I speak, Rock Fest West rolls into Sonoma. So setup is today. Unofficial practice starts tomorrow. So Rock Fest West is at Sonoma. If you're listening to this and you're really not sure what karting is all about, again, go to norcalkarters.com. Click on the calendar, and right now, this time of the year, there's plenty of events going on. There are plenty of events going on. And so Sonoma was going on this past weekend. The CCKRA, which is Central California Kart Racing Association, they had their event down in Fresno. So if you're down in the lower Central Valley, there was an event in Fresno. If you're closer to Sacramento, Prairie City Kart Club, they had an event going on this past weekend. So there was a lot of karting action just here in our local NorCal market. And again, if you're really not sure what karting is all about or how to get started or what it entails, go to norcalkarters.com, click on the calendar, and just look at the different tracks that have events that coming up week or weekend, and just take a trip out there. And just give it a look. We are in the process of working with a more hands-on get into karting program. So we will be working on an arrive and drive program and a kart rental program with another outfit. So stay tuned for that. Especially if you're in karting, and you don't want to put your buddy in your race cart. You don't want to say, hey, go take my cart out to see if you like it. This will be good for you too, because then you can just say, hey, this is my buddy. When are you guys going to do kart rentals? What does the schedule look like? And again, that is in the works right now. So we will be doing promotion for a local kart rental and arrive and drive program. So stay tuned for that. The website's going to have more information in the next coming weeks. So that's going to be exciting. But again, karting, just get involved. It's a great sport. There's great people in it. Some of my best friends I met through karting. So it really is a very, very, very fun sport. So with that being said, a little bit of housekeeping right now. As I mentioned, the arrive and drive and the kart rental, NCK Road Racing, they have an event coming up this weekend at Thunderhill East. It is a combined event with the Cobra Shelby Club, and they are offering kart rentals up there as well. So whether you're the part of the Cobra Shelby Club or someone going up to spectate, they are offering an arrive and drive program where you can take a few laps and go check out karting on a big track. Again, they're running the Thunderhill East track, and that is taking place this Saturday and Sunday in Thunderhill or at Thunderhill. If you're not sure where Thunderhill is, it's in Willows, California. So it's north of Sacramento by about 2.5 hours. Dedicated full-size racetrack. So Thunderhill East is going on this weekend. Also this weekend, as I already mentioned, Rockfest West taking place at Sonoma. Rockfest West taking place at Sonoma. And for my regular listeners, guess who I'm going to plug right now because I said Sonoma. That's right, Gfc Karting. So Gfc Karting is a sponsor of Norcal Karters, and last year we started adding his team events to our calendar so people would know where Gary Carlton was going. He said he wanted to support what I was doing, and I was trying to figure out a way because at that time I didn't really have sponsorship stuff set up. At that time I didn't have banner ads on the website set up because I was trying not to do a banner ad website. However, if you go to the website now, you will see there's advertisers, there's banners, there's buttons. So I will do my best to keep it as clean and tidy as possible without overwhelming just advertising so where things are blinking at you and you want to have a seizure. So again, Gary Carlton came to me last year and says, hey, I want to support what you're doing. How can I work into your program? And I thought, I was like, well, let's put you on the race calendar. So Gary, one of Gary's home tracks is Sonoma. He has a big customer base out there. He has a good following at the Sonoma track. And so anytime there's a Sonoma event and I know Gary's going to be in attendance because he gave me his schedule at the beginning of the year, I plug GFC Karting. So yeah, he's going to be, well, he's there now. I mean, I know that for a fact. So he's at the track now. But the actual Rockfest West event kicks off tomorrow and it goes through Sunday at the Sonoma track. What else we have going on this weekend? Blue Max Kart Club has a club race coming up this Sunday. So September 19th, Blue Max Kart Club. And the NorCal 80cc Shifter Championship Group will be joining the Blue Max Kart Club this weekend for race number 4 of their series. If you're wondering how you can find out more information about the NorCal 80s or Blue Max, go to our calendar, click on the date of the 19th. If you click on NorCal 80cc Shifter Championship, it'll bring up the information on how to go to their website and their Facebook page. So that is going on. And again, I mentioned NCK Road Racing. Same thing. Go to norcalkarters.com, click on the event, and it'll pop up. You can go right to the NCK Road Racing event page that will give you the information on their event. Also taking place this weekend, Southern Oregon Karters. They have an event going on the 17th, 18th, and 19th. So Southern Oregon Karters. And let's see here, September 19th, Karts and Coffee down in Modesto at the McHenry Village. So that's going on. And fast forward. bear with me for a second. As many of you know, I get very distracted very easily. I'm actually really curious how the whole chat thing is going to work. Are my podcasts going to turn into, 30-minute shows or 3-hour shows because I'm chatting and talking with people live? But only one way to find out. We just got to go try it out. And again, anything that I mention on this podcast can also be found at norcalkarters.com. And so October, Prairie City, they have an event coming up on the 9th and the 10th. So Prairie City will have an event coming up on the 9th and the 10th. And that same weekend, NCK Road Racing, they have an event coming up. October 10th, Thunderhill West, which is the smaller version of the road race. So again, NCK Road Racing, Thunderhill West. This weekend they will be at Thunderhill on the east track. Next month they will be on the west track. And I personally will be up there for that event. I'm going to go put in a few laps in my Honda, and that should be a lot of fun. And seems like some guys from Team Visalia are coming up. And again, a Arrive and Drive program. So NCK is already working on it, where they have a viable Arrive and Drive program. So you can reach out to the NCK guys to find out all the details on their Arrive and Drive. And that same weekend, we have NNKC, which is Northern Nevada Kart Club. It is a rain makeup date. So as of the recording of this podcast, I am not 100% sure if they will have an event that day or if it's just a rain makeup and they basically checkmarked it to save it. Then we have October 15th, 16th, and 17th. We have Southern Oregon Karters, sokarters.org. And then we have on the 23rd and the 24th, again, Prairie City has another event going on. So Prairie City, race number 8, 4-stroke weekend. Let's see here. I don't think I have it on my calendar, but the 15th, 16th, and the 17th at Prairie City as well. They're going to be very, very, very busy in October. I believe that's the week of the IKF Grand Nationals at Prairie City. So if you don't have an event that you're going to, if you want to be a spectator, check it out. However, if you want to participate, you can go to the Prairie City website, get more information. Again, they are doing the IKF Grand Nationals. And if you want big events in your backyard, you need to support them, either by showing up to spectate or, better yet, entering and racing. So that's 15th, 16th, and 17th. And let's see. Then we have CCKRA on the 23rd and the 24th. That's their championship event, cckra.com. That is the Central California Kart Racing Association. And that same weekend is Rock Sonoma. So Rock Sonoma, that is their season finale doubleheader. And it's going to be race 8 on Saturday, race 9 on Sunday. At this point, we do plan on doing more live broadcasting. And that will be the season finale for Rock Sonoma. Double points race weekend because there's 2 events on the same weekend. And more information on Rock Sonoma, you can go to sanzarukarting.com, sanzarukarting.com. And they also use the Kart Pass app for registration and getting information to the participants. So that's our calendar going through October. And I'm going to take a moment here, and we're going to thank one of our sponsors. Norcal Karters is taking this time to thank one of our sponsors, Gorilla Barbecue. They've been featured on the Food Network. And Rich Bakke, the owner of Gorilla Barbecue, has a long history with karting, being the factory track magic mechanic for many years. And he owns and operates the Gorilla Barbecue Caboose out there in Pacifica. It's the big orange caboose. It's very unique. And if it's smoking, they're open. So you got to get there early because when they run out of food, they close. That's it. They just supply and demand. It's always fresh. You can call them at 650-359-9797. RIBS, 650-359-RIBS, and our website, Gorilla Barbecue, gorillabarbecue.com, and you can pick up some spice rub. I love using this on pork ribs and also my tri-tip. It's one of the many go-to spices that I have. So if you love grilling, you know you like to mix it up a little bit. So give this one a shot. You can go to gorillabarbecue.com to buy the spice rub. You can also buy swag, Gorilla Barbecue swag at gorillabarbecue.com. And thank you to Rich and the Gorilla Barbecue crew for supporting Norcal Karters and local kart racing. So once again, we want to thank Gorilla Barbecue for the support of Norcal Karters. And Gorilla Barbecue, Rich Bakke, he's been instrumental part of the Track Magic Owners Group. And he really only had one request. Well, he had two. He goes, do your thing and plug the Track Magic Owners Group for me. And that was really about it. So Rich Bakke, Gorilla Barbecue, thank you for the support of Norcal Karters. And we also have, I'm going to rewind a little bit. A couple weeks ago, we did a podcast on suicide awareness. And this past Friday was National Suicide Awareness Day. And I was trying to get it tied in somehow with the interview we did with my friend Vicky on suicide awareness. And honestly, I just don't know how to approach it. It's a very, very sensitive subject, and I don't want to bombard people with it, but I also don't want to do it and then not try to share the information because Vicky came on and she shared some resources. We put resources online, some links, not a checklist, but a kind of a list of what to look for, whether you have suicidal thoughts or you have a family or friend that you may think has suicidal thoughts. So it was a very informative program for me. And it was basically the whole podcast came about because we had a racer that took his life about a month ago. And, I have this podcast. I have this way to get information out there. And that one just kind of hit really close to home, being that it was a fellow karter. So, again, that was a podcast we did a couple of weeks ago. You can find it on our podcast page. You can find it on our YouTube page. But again, last week, one of the days was National Suicide Awareness. So I didn't want to get through this episode without mentioning that. And I think I'm going to do a pretty quick podcast today, which isn't normal for me. But I want to end... I kind of want to end this podcast with a personal story. And you may or may not find it relevant out there. And it was my buddy James. So my buddy James and I, we go back probably 20 years in karting. And there's a few races that he had helped me, and he was my mechanic. But he was also a fellow competitor. And so my buddy James is an engineer. So his perception, his outlook on how he views things is quite different than mine. And the reason I wanted to share this story is I was thinking about it the other day and it just made me laugh. But back then it made me very, very mad. So my buddy James, I was in a very competitive 80 class and I found myself always in the middle of all the shit. Like either, crashing, running into people. It just seemed like I always found there was a period of time I would just, my final results were not as good as my lap time said they should have been. And I got frustrated. And my buddy James has a very good way of just kind of like just having logic but pissing me off at the same time. So him and I, we would have, lunch or, we'd hang out and he goes, and I would vent. It's like, that's what you do with your friends, right? You vent. You talk about, good stuff, bad stuff. You vent with each other. You kind of want friends that are going to kind of be straight shooters with you. So I was bitching and moaning that, man, it's like this past weekend, it was so tough. And, it's like, I should have won. And my buddy James goes, well, you didn't. And I go, I know, And I started blaming the other competitors because there was contact, and I was shoved off the track, and it seemed like it just kept happening. My buddy James will go faster, and I got so mad. It's like, what are you talking about? It's like, I was fast. My lap time showed I was fast. He goes, you weren't fast enough. And I go, what are you talking about? I was fast. My lap times, they were good. I had good pace. I was running the top of the pack. And he goes, yeah, you weren't fast enough. I go, you don't even know what you're talking about. And he goes, if you were faster, they wouldn't be close to you. And I go, whatever. It's like, that's not how it works. It's like, I was doing well. And he goes, no, think about it. He goes, if you were faster, you would have been in front of them. They wouldn't have been able to, there wouldn't have been any contact because you would have been further out ahead. So he goes, you really need to work on your program to go faster. And it's like, dude, I'm working on my program. I'm going fast, etc. And he's all, you're not going fast enough. And my buddy James is kind of very soft-spoken. It's very just matter of fact, almost a dry delivery, which probably adds fuel to the fire when someone just has a delivery that's just kind of matter of fact. This is it. Go faster. And it just like me being kind of a high-strung squirrel, I was getting more and more mad. But I did walk away from these conversations with my buddy James thinking, you know what? He is right. There's certain things we can control in karting, and there's certain things we can't. And some of the stuff we can't control, what another competitor is going to do, yet you can't control that. You can't control the weather. You can't control the track conditions. You can only adapt to them. And it took me a while to kind of grasp what he meant by I had to go faster, because in my mind I was, at the time, again, I said 20 years ago, I was very competitive, I was quick, and it took me a while to kind of grasp what he was saying, and I kind of calmed down, and I reevaluated things like, you know what, he's right. If I was a little bit faster, I wouldn't have been in that pack. If I was a little bit quicker, I would have been further ahead. And when he said that to me kind of in the heat of the moment, because it's still fresh on my mind, my attitude was just, I don't want to hear that right now, because it's frustrating. You spend a lot of money when you're karting. You spend a lot of time and energy, and it doesn't matter why, but if you have a DNF, it's extremely frustrating. And so I think a lot of us, we let that build up, and it's natural because of that stuff going on. And I've always had that in the back of my head from those conversations I had with James from years ago of, you just need to go faster, you need to do better. And it kind of carried over to my kart prep, and it carried over to how I showed up for an event where, okay, well, maybe if I work a little bit harder at the shop to find a little bit of speed, or spend more time at the track driving and testing versus working on stuff. Because when I was younger, there were times I'd show up at the track with a kart that hadn't been touched since the last race, and I crashed. So, that kind of changed my mindset as well. It's like, okay, I'm going to roll out of the truck or trailer, however I got to the track, prepped. And I'm going to work on going faster. I'm not going to worry about other people's lap times and being in the ballpark. I'm going to worry about me to go faster. And it was, again, kind of just one of those lessons where when I was younger, I didn't want to hear it. At that moment, I didn't want to hear it because, again, it was so fresh. But then looking back, it's like, okay, it's good advice. The delivery was terrible, but it was good advice. And I just see it at the track. I mean, I see it all the time, especially now that I'm announcing. You look at the race completely different. Last year, I was working with Christian Cameron as a mechanic. So I'm watching Christian and his guys, like whoever he's racing with. That's what I'm watching on the track. Now, when I'm announcing, I have the ability, and I love it. I mean, it's actually a lot of fun. But I get to watch all the racing all day long. And I get to see it. I get and my job as the announcer is, okay, find the action on the track. Like, so I'm not looking at a particular driver, but I'm looking for the action. And the other nice side of it too is that now that we have the live stream going on, I go back afterwards. I watch the YouTube video, and we had a camera at the scales as drivers were coming off in the main events, and just the different emotions that you see on the track. It was neat to kind of go back and revisit that, because again, announcing it, you're really not announcing somebody's emotion. You're kind of watching it for a second, and then in my mind, I'm moving on. Like okay, what's next? What's the next class, etc. But then going back and being able to watch it. I mean, you had drivers coming off the track that were pissed and mad because of on-track racing, or they weren't happy with their performance. And then you had, one of the most vivid memories I have is Ayrton Littell coming off the scales, and he slaps the back tire of his kart. Then he gives Gary Carlton a hug. He gave Sonny Cervelli a hug because he had just won the race. And to me, that was a very vivid moment, because you just caught the emotion. And when I'm working for somebody, I would miss out on that unless it was my driver or someone my driver was competing with. And it just kind of reminded me of that story of James, like just seeing all these emotions at the track. And as I say that out loud, there's one picture of Gary Carlton from years ago where he's in second place on the podium, and he looks like he was just blown off the track. Like, he just doesn't look happy at all. And again, it's these emotions, and it's karting. I mean, it's a high energy sport. We get riled up, and I think a lot of us have similar personalities in karting, because that's why karting is attractive. I mean, it kind of caters to our emotional side. It's a lot of fun. But again, I look back at that lesson with James, like, oh, just got to go faster. And at the time, I didn't know how to go faster. I didn't know what to do different. I wanted to kind of point fingers at other things, thinking in my head, no, I'm fast. But, now 20 years removed, there's a lot of things we can do to kind of change our outcome. It's a perfect example. I mentioned him earlier, Ayrton Littell. He was the guy to beat. I think he led every single lap on Sunday. I think I have to go back and look. And that's one of the skills I need to work on as an announcer as well. Is, okay, what stats do I need to have in front of me, etc. But I think he led every single lap, and I think he even qualified on pole. So he was unbeaten all day long. And he's a perfect example of you've got to go faster, because even though he was in a tight battle, there really wasn't a good opportunity for the guys behind him to get around him. So he was just a tick better. Another person that's that I always see that is in the shifter stuff, Hunter Pickett. When he's on, you're not touching him. Like, he's not even in the same ballpark, and he's just that much faster, that much better. And it's when he's on, he's on. And so those are just some of the examples of, okay, work harder, find more speed, etc. Without one of your buddies just on you, oh, you got to go faster. It's, okay, where can we go faster? What can we do different? And kind of, learning as we go. And as a driver, I was always learning. Now that I'm doing the announcing stuff, it's a constant learning thing. I picked up on a couple things this weekend that I need to be a lot more aware of. But again, it's learning, because people now are coming up to me knowing I'm the announcing, and they're giving me facts and information, and they don't understand that, okay, at that moment, I'm probably not in that conversation. I'm probably somewhere else mentally. And then I got home, I was like, oh crap, they were feeding me information that I could have used for announcing, but at that moment I wasn't receptive to it. And again, I need to learn that skill of, okay, they're giving me info, and okay, let's work on that. Let's how do we make this better? And yeah, again, I watching the racing, it just gave me a different outlook on what's going on the track. I just thought I'd share that story with you and my buddy James. And yeah, I mean, James and I still talk all the time. So it's he has that way of just, dry delivery, and sometimes it pisses me off. Most of the time it doesn't anymore because I'm not actively racing. But yeah, and that's probably how I'm going to wrap up the podcast today. Just wanted to share that story, and everyone have a great day. And if you're listening to this podcast and it's being recorded and you downloaded it, chime in. Tell us where you're racing. Share some of your stories. And this podcast isn't about me talking so I can hear myself. It's to get information out there about karting. So the number one goal of the podcast and Norcal Karters is to get more people into the sport and retain people in the sport. That's the number one. Nothing else matters if we can't grow the sport and keep people in the sport. Nothing else matters underneath that. So that's the number one thing. So chime in, put your thoughts in the comment section, etc. And and I always say it, if I miss your event, let me know. We had to redo the calendar about 4 or 5 months ago. So I'm pretty sure I got most of the races back on the NorcalKarters.com calendar, but if I'm missing your event, let me know. Or if the event has wrong information on it, let me know. Again, it's the website, Norcal. It's for the racer. It's for the people, if you will. So I didn't do a calendar, so I knew where all the races were. I'm doing the calendar so you know where the events are taking place. So if I'm missing something, let me know. If you're an organizer, a club, and you'd like to see different information for your events, again, reach out to me. And with that, have a wonderful Wednesday, and post where you're racing this weekend or where you're watching. Have a great day.